Okay, let's say you're 30 people today.
There you go. I've been pretty good pretending I'm 30 people.
All right.
And
Let's
I
see.
can be whatever.
Kelly,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this is Daryl. I'm having problems hearing Devin.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly. Devin sounds a little muted.
Okay.
Okay. Can you?
Do you have your volume all the way up, Devin, on your iPad or whatever?
Yeah, let me turn that all the way up.
It does feel a little low to me too.
Can you? Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have my volume up all the way, so I probably sound like I'm screaming.
Okay. And now, does the headphones they work better for you guys?
If you'd rather not, I think it's okay. Try it without the headphones, see if that's better.
Okay, too. Daryl.
It still sounds a little quiet. Do you have a case on your iPad?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes the cases block the microphone, I found.
Let's do this. Don't worry about it. I'll use the headphones.
Either way, it still sounds a little low, but that's okay. I had somebody that couldn't figure out how the camera wasn't working on their iPad the one time, and they didn't realize the case was flipped over and blocking the camera.
I'll use the headphones just to kind of keep it. All right, so we are going to begin. So, thank you for joining me today very much and being here. My name is Devin Jefferson, and welcome to PCA's Developing Triple Impact Competitors Workshop for Coaches. And we use the term workshop just to let you guys know that this is going to be an interactive session. We all in here are coaches. We've all been coaching for a number of years. I want this to be interactive because I want to learn from you and hear from some of your experiences, and hopefully you can take some points from me as well. So before we begin today, I want everyone to bring out their smartphones, and I want you all to sign into today's workshop. This is going to be the most important piece that we do right now before we get into the meat of everything. So I want you to bring out your smartphones, and I want you to text yourself to the number 650-763-2405. And in the body of that message, I want you to do the pound sign or hashtag 500000, your first name, your last name, and then your email address. So those three important things I need you to include into the body of your text message. And then I want you to do something very scary. I want you to hit the send button. So just understand, you're not sending your life away to us. You're just sending some very important information. And here at PCA, once you hit that send button, what that will do is just allow us to know that you've participated in today's workshop. And after today, you're going to be receiving very good information and tips and points on how you can become a better coach. So that's very important in signing up today. So once you all have done that, you can look up and we can begin today's workshop. Good.
We're all good.
Good. So double goal coach, what does that mean? What is a double goal coach? And here on this slide that you all see, you see that it's a coach that wins in life and that teaches life lessons. And that's huge. It's right. It's correct. And I want to talk to you today about coaching. We're all in this room. We're all coaches. We know that we've hit those difficult peaks sometimes. Just so you can get a feel of who I am, I started coaching. Sports has opened so many avenues and so many doors for myself, from developing friendships and traveling the world a little bit and playing on a collegiate level. But I'm blessed, and I think the most important for me is that I have the opportunity to have a job, and PCA has allowed me to do that. And I'm able and have the opportunity to spread the message on how you all can be a positive coach. So how many of you, is this your first time in taking a PCA workshop? Oh, great, great. We have one person, this is their first time. So let me get a feel of who's in the room as well. How many of you, is this your first year coaching? Okay, no one, this is their first year. How many of you have been coaching for 2 to 5 years? Oh, one person. And who's been coaching longer than 5 years? We got a couple people. How about more than 10 years? Good, good. Well, we actually can switch spots. If you've been coaching longer than 10 years, you can actually do the rest of this workshop. But Again, I just wanted to get a feel of who's in the room. So I want you to look at the person next to you, left or right of you, and just so we can get a feel of who we are as coaches. And I want you to share some very important information and just talk about a little bit who's had the most or who's had a huge impact on yourself as a coach. So just take a moment, share with the person next to you, and talk a little bit about who is the most influential coach that you have had as a youth or as a young athlete. So when you're done, who's willing to share some of that information?
I'll share.
Oh, good, Kelly. Thank you.
Yeah, so my most influential coach was my college field hockey coach.
Oh, good.
And I had a very, very tough, win at all costs coach in high school.
Okay.
So when I was recruited to play Division 1, I thought it was going to be just like that again. And the coach that actually recruited me left. So the coach that was coming in the fall was a brand new coach. And it ended up the first week of practice, or the first day of practice, we spent half the practice just playing games like relay races and freeze tag and getting to know you kind of stuff. We didn't even touch a stick. And that was really important to her. And I was just blown away. I thought, this is a great program. I'm so excited about this. But she ended up being a coach that really checked up on us in college, just made sure that we were eating right, we were sleeping. If we, she would call and just check in and see how we were doing. She would order pizza sometimes, just have it sent to our dorm room without telling us as a surprise. She really cared.
That's good. That's good. And that's what we want to talk about today. Those coaches, just like your coach, Kelly, the coaches who taught you how to win on the field, but those coaches who cared and who taught you how to get through life a little bit too. So I want to talk a little bit about PCA and what PCA is as an organization. And PCA is a nonprofit organization that was founded at Stanford University back in 1998 by the founder, Jim Thompson. And all it is an alliance of coaches and trainers and teachers and sports psychologists who've come together, and we're all on the same mission of developing a better sports culture. So right now we have over 80,000 coaches trained like myself to and give information through these interactive workshops. We have over 3.3 million youth that we talk about and that we've reached so far. We do about 2,500 live workshops annually. And again, we'll talk a little bit about what this means. We have 1 million visits to our PCA Dev Zone website. And what that is a website resource for coaches like yourself. We all go through these coach issues sometimes all together, from parent issues and kids who are least motivated. So this PCA Dev Zone is a really good resource in helping you tap into some of those issues that you face as a coach. So positive coaching, again, we're here to talk about positive coaching a little bit. So just find a partner, someone who you didn't talk with previously. And I want you to talk about some of the qualities that you see as a positive coach. Like, what does it mean to be a positive coach to you? So just take a couple of seconds and talk to your partner a couple of seconds at what it means to be a positive coach. And raise your head when you're ready, and we could talk about that a little bit. Good, Kelly, you're ready.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me what does, if you're willing to share what your partner talked about, what's a positive coach?
Yeah, we talked about a coach that's encouraging and supportive.
Good.
And sort of, we were joking around about like a positive coach probably doesn't yell at the athletes very much.
Okay. I wish that coach was coaching me when I was younger a little bit.
Yeah.
But you're right. All of those things are right. Positive coaching, it's creating an environment that supports the best possible performance. And I know some of you, when you came in today, you didn't know what you're going to get out of this workshop. And sometimes, the message can be misconstrued, which is why I'm here to give you some good information, valuable information, that positive coaching is not about being soft. It's not about giving a participation trophy to all of our athletes that are on our roster. Positive coaching is about peak performance, and it's our job as coaches to get our athletes to perform the peak and to perform the best way that they know how in practices and in games and on that field, to learn from mistakes and to go at it and give your best every day. Another valuable lesson that positive coaching is about teaching life lessons as well. And Kelly, you mentioned that in your instruction of your coach when you were in college. So the power of positive, and again, what does that mean? We all know that coaching is very difficult. I wish, I was that young coach and started. I wish I knew all the tools that I know now as a first year coach. And Jim Thompson, our founder, he found research that validated his philosophy that when coaches emphasize positivity, you get so much more out of your players than when negativity is around you. So I want you all to look at my next slide. A very important person who I feel she's part of our organization. She's a member of our National Advisory Board. Her name is Dr. Barbara Fredrickson. She teaches, I'm sorry, psychology at UNC. So she says there's no perception that the best way to get what you want out of employees or players is by negativity or threats. But negativity doesn't work as well as positivity. And can someone read that second quote that Dr. Fredrickson says? Do I have someone who can read that?
Sure. It says positive emotions are especially contagious, and a leader's positive emotions are more contagious than anyone else's.
Yes, that's huge. A leader's positive emotions are so contagious. And she talks about this in her upward spiral content. Who are the leaders on your team? Who would you say the leaders are on your team if I can ask and if anyone is willing to share?
I'd say the upperclassmen.
Oh, the upperclassmen. That's a good one. That's a
Mhm.
good one.
I
As a
think
coach,
too that on my youth team, I would say the leaders are the best players, the kids that are the best skilled.
could be. But I don't want you all to forget as coaches, and sometimes I forget it myself, that we have to remember that we as coaches, we are the leaders of our teams. We are the president, we are the CEO, and Dr. Fredrickson, she believes in this concept with upward spiral that us being the leaders of the team, we are spiraling the positivity to our assistant coaches. We're spiraling this concept of positivity to our players and to the officials in some cases. And in some cases it's hard, but we're spiraling this concept of positivity to the opponents as well. So Sports Illustrated, we've all read Sports Illustrated. I get the magazine every month. Sometimes I read it, sometimes I don't. I need to read it more often. It's so good to see that 2 years ago, an article came out by Alex Wolf, and he talked that study after study shows the benefits of a more positive approach. It's like, wow, Sports Illustrated is backing everything that Jim Thompson is saying in PCA. And it's, in fact, this article talks about the demise of the outdated style of verbal and aggressive coaching. And the coaching is just a catalyst for creating a positive environment. Again, so it's good to see that Sports Illustrated is mocking the words that we're preaching every day. So who are the elite coaches that back us? We talked about Sports Illustrated. We talked about Dr. Fredrickson, who's on our National Advisory Board. So I want to just show you um, some elite players and coaches who are part of our National Advisory Board as well. And these are coaches that are in hockey and in the NFL and in baseball and soccer. So Julie Foudy and Doc Rivers and Steve Kerr, Janine Tucker, these are great players and coaches who testify that PCA is something that they believe in as well. So looking at these elite players and coaches, I want you all to look at their faces. Most of you know who they are. Just think of one word to describe who some of these coaches, what they exhibit to you. And we could just shout it out. You don't have to talk to your partner in this
I'd
instance.
say champions.
Champions. That's a good one. That's a good one. Does anyone else have any other words?
Um, I just think motivators. I look at those people and I think all of them, as I think of, have their heads on straight.
Yeah, that's really good. They do have their head on straight. I can learn from them a little bit too, Kelly, and getting my
Oh
head
yeah.
on straight. So these folks, they feel so strongly, and they volunteered to serve on PSA's National Advisory Board. So they pitch our mission, our vision as well through themselves as athletes and through their teams as coaches. So it's good to see that we have this credible source of information that backs PCA. So we talked all about positivity. So I want to bring in some negativity and what negativity actually does. So we're talking about the mind being in the moment and the mind always being in the moment and being the most important task and being the most important play. And negativity, we know a little bit, it distracts you from what you want to get done on the field or on the court or wherever you are in your sports area. But so Charlie Mayer and Kevin Reeves are two really world-renowned sports psychologists that tell us that negativity, it impedes performance. So here we are. They've spent their life trying to get professional athletes trying to play at their peak. Now look at this. They're trying to get professional athletes to perform at their peak. And they found that negativity is not good. Why is there so much negativity?
Something's going on.
Hello? Hello?
We lost your audio. Not really. Really fuzzy. It's like breaking up.
I took the headphones off. Can you hear me?
There you go. That's better.
All right. I just took. We're talking.
That's much better.
All right. Good.
Oh,
So
boy, I can hear you now.
Yeah, that's much better.
oh my gosh, sorry about that. So we're going back to our presentation and we're talking about negativity and we're talking about, these sports psychologists and how they talked about negativity and how it impedes a player's performance. So why do you all think that there's so much negativity in sports? Let me just hear you throw out some answers.
I think there's a lot of pressure on kids and teams now to perform. Like I think even at the youth level, you get all this pressure that they have to be the best on the team so they can get recruited and get to college. And I think that puts a lot of pressure on kids because instead of just playing for fun in like rec leagues, these kids want to be on these super travel leagues where they have to have a winning record in order to be successful so they can get to college. So I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, that's a good point, Kelly, and you're right. It is a lot of pressure, and what we at PCA want to give off, there is a lot of pressure, but we want to just, our mission and vision is about coaching has evolved, and children have changed, and we're coaching what we call, I guess, the millennials. So they're adapted and they're so in tune to cell phones and social media and communications has changed. And all of these things have evolved from when we were young players. So as a coach, we have to evolve and change our ways as well. So PCA's vision, getting back to the organization, PCA, we combine what the research says with what great coaches tell us, and we share it all in our workshops. And that's what I want to do with you all today. So we use sports psychology research and best practices to coach with great coaches to develop our mission of better athletes and better people. So you have support from PCA, and we talked about some of the resources that we offer you all. And again, all of this research is research-based coaching, a research-based coaching model to guide you with what you need to know and how you can be a better coach, and just to give you more equipped practical tools. This Power of Double Goal coaching book you all received today has become my coaching Bible. And as you go through it, I have highlights and I have things written in it. And again, these are practical tools. Jim Thompson did a really good job with giving you all insight and information on how you can become a better coach. Again, ongoing support. We talked about using this book as a resource, like I just mentioned. The weekly coach talking points you'll receive after today's workshop, and signing up into the PCA developmentzone.org, which is also a wealth of information on how you can become a better positive coach. So bringing out your books, I have another session that I want to do with you guys, just really, really quick, on what makes a great youth experience for kids. And I just want to give you 30 seconds and just thinking about this for a little bit. No need to think about it with your peers, but on the first page of your Jim Thompson book, you see my book is all kind of written up. Hopefully yours can get to where mine is. But on the first page of the book, I want you to write 3 things on what makes a great youth sports experience. And when you're done, we can talk about what some of those 3 areas are. Okay, I think I have everyone is all done. I see some nods. Who's willing to share what some of their what some of those experiences are? What some of their what
Okay,
do I
I'll
have?
share. I'm just going from my experience. I have 4 kids, and 3 of them are in high school now, and I can just tell you from the teams that they've been on and the teams that they've not wanted to be on. I think the 3 biggest ones are their friends on the team. So do they feel like they have friends and they have kids that they like that they're playing with? Number 2, are they learning really good skills? Can they actually see themselves getting better? And number 3 is support from the coach. If they feel like the coach is really helping to support them rather than just picking out everything they're doing wrong. So I think
Good, Kelly. You've been to one of our workshops before. So again, my next slide, I just want you to, Kelly hit on a lot of those great points. So a meaningful athlete experience is feeling connected with the teammates and coach. Kelly mentioned that. Believing that they can improve and feeling proud and acting with integrity. We talk about what integrity means in a little bit in the sports culture. So PCA's coaching model is based on 3 principles: connected, filling that emotional tank. We'll talk about that in a little bit. The second principle is on improving, the elm tree of mastery. And the third principle is about integrity and honoring the game and what that means to honor the refs and your opponents and your coaches and your parents. Sometimes when things get tough and when you don't want to. So this next slide, I want you all to follow. Herm Edwards, he's a great coach, former NFL head coach. He's a coach in my head. He's great. I want you to hear how he talks about understanding your legacy as a coach.
Okay.
So that plays and that plays. We go to the next slide. So again, Herm Edwards, a great coach. He does have a great impact on coaches all across the country, no sport specific. So he says, when the book of life is written, will it say that you made a difference? And I think about this to myself all the time. So I want you to think to yourself and bring out your Jim Thompson book again, and in another area that's not written. I want you to think to yourself, and what would you like people to say about you as a coach? What would people say about you as a coach? And I want to think to yourself, and I want you to jot down some things, and I want you to really think about the team that you're coaching right now, and really how you would like to be remembered amongst your players. And this is something that we don't have to share with others right now, but I want you to think about that as we go through this workshop. And I want to kind of switch gears a little bit as we talk about the PCA's model of coaching. And this is huge. And this is what this is all about. Is at PCA, we say that a positive coach is a double coach. And we talked about this in the initial beginning of this workshop, is a coach that's striving to win, which is very, very, very important. We're all competitors. And it's another coach that's another principle is that we're teaching life lessons. So those 2 principles, not one more principle is more important than the other. So what are some of the life lessons that your athletes can learn from you this season? You want to spit out some responses or talk about some responses very openly? What are some of the lessons you want your athletes to learn from this season?
I think to work hard, just work hard in everything, whether they're good at it or not. Bouncing back when they screw up, when they make a mistake.
Yeah, huge.
Encouraging teammates that they're not best friends with. I think that's a big one. Okay. They are. I think just being able to work as a team. And, you know, I coach girls, so even if they're not best friends, being able to work with each other on the field and not worry about what happens off the field or what they did last night. I think that's really important.
Those are great, Kelly. Those are great. We could definitely switch spots. And the beauty of a double goal coaching is that those 2 goals, they work simultaneously. They support each other. The more kids compete and strive to win, the more life lessons come to the surface. And as kids absorb the life lessons, the more they win. So that's the premise of what a double goal coach is all about, is coaches who care about winning, coaches who get their kids to compete, and coaches who teach life lessons to their youth. And hopefully they'll become better players all around.
All right.
What I got.
You got it. Nice job.
Went a little bit over, but
That's totally fine. The reason we give you 20 minutes is just for a guide. I mean, if you go 23, 25, or 18, you know, that's all good. It's just if I say, oh, you've got all the time in the world, then people will go for 45 minutes on the introduction. How did you feel doing that?
Well, you know what, and I've heard you say it before, and I've heard other people say it. Once there's like a technical glitch, it kind of throws you off.
Yeah, sometimes.
So the headphones was a little, I didn't practice with the headphones and I couldn't really hear myself.
Yeah, they weren't good headphones, I don't think, because you sound much better now.
No, yeah, that threw me off a little bit. So I mean, I feel good about it.
Good. It's also, I mean, you seem very smooth to me. I didn't catch any glitches at all. And Daryl, I don't know if you were able to hear her for the beginning of it. Are you still there? All right, we'll let Daryl chime in if he comes back. But no, I thought you seemed very smooth. Which parts of that did you enjoy the most? Did you feel most comfortable?
I guess, let me kind of go back. I guess in the beginning, I guess telling them a little bit about myself, just to kind of get that connection a little bit. I heard you say it too, and I've watched other presenters do this as well. And I was connected by Monica's presentation. And part of it is because of, she stood, but she didn't really talk about herself. It was just her energy. And I just automatically connected with her.
Yeah.
So that's something that I wanted to do initially. I don't know if I did that good of a job though. I'm more of a face-to-face person, and I'm not standing up, but that's what I tried to exude in the beginning of the presentation.
Yeah, no, I thought you did a great job. I think you seem, so well prepared. I really appreciate all the preparation that you did. And I think one of the things that noticed for me right off the bat was I could hear your personality. You made a joke right off the bat that this is kind of scary, anything you can do to have the coaches think like, okay, she's got a personality here. This is going to be fun. You set a tone, you're smiling. All that stuff is important. And people sometimes don't think about how important that is. So I thought that was great. The text to sign in, you hit all the points of it. The only other thing that I add for text to sign in is that by texting to sign in, we can measure our impact. Because some people say, where do you get these numbers that says 80,000 coaches are trained? So it's really important for us, for our research, to see how many coaches we're impacting and the difference it's making in certain areas. So that's just that's the third thing I always say. Participation, you get a certificate. I don't know if you mentioned this. I forget if you mentioned it or not, but they get a certificate of participation emailed to them the next day, which is,
I didn't see that.
Yeah. And a lot of schools, if it's a high school area or even a youth sports organization, this is mandatory for them. So it is, sometimes they're like, oh, well, if I get credit for it and I get a certificate, I want to make sure I sign in. So that's it. I think, as I said, your energy, I thought was great. I like the way that you brought in what sports has done for you personally, because they'll know that you've played, at a high level. And you said it's opened doors, friendships, travel. I would actually look even for opportunities like what sports done for you, those of you that have played sports, at a higher level. What are some of the things it's done for you? It's a little different than saying what are the life lessons? Like what has sports, given to you? So I thought that would be an opportunity to ask.
Oh, that's a good point. So ask.
Yeah, sometimes when people go through these, a lot of times, like sometimes I'm taking notes, sometimes I'm stealing things that you say that I think are really cool that I want to use in my workshops. and sometimes I'm thinking of like, what would I have done if I had that question, asked to me? So I really try to put myself in the situation of being at a workshop. And sometimes when you ask me a question in Hangouts, I give you an answer that I got at a workshop. So sometimes I like to just see how you field certain things. I love how right away you had us, talking to the person next to you. I think that's great. Anything you can get them talking right off the bat is so important. I would even go one step further and say somewhere within the first 15 minutes, have them up out of their seat, whether it's, something as simple as saying, stand up if you've coached for 5 years or less, stay standing if it's 10 years, anything to get the blood pumping, because a lot of times these workshops are at night, after a long day of work and a long day of practice. And the more you have people sitting in their chair, the more tired they get sometimes. Even if you're saying great stuff, you just don't want all the energy to have to come from you. So sometimes it's a matter of like, stand up, sit down, high five the person next to you, find a partner 2 rows away, or find a partner at another table, something that simple. Sometimes too, when coaches come in, they sit next to their friends or they sit next to people they know. So when you always have them like turn to the left or turn to the right, they're sharing with their friends. And sometimes it's better for them to force them to go find somebody else that they don't know. And that's why sometimes too, I find adults are even worse than kids, because sometimes adults like, go find a partner on the other side of the room. Everyone's like, oh, geez, I don't even know who to find. But I'll say like, go find somebody that has the same color shirt on that you do, or go find somebody that has the same shoes on, or go find somebody that has the same color hair, you know, something like that, just, or find somebody that has a different color eyes than you have. And then it's really funny because you see a bunch of adults like looking into each other's eyes as they're passing by.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna take that advice.
It just makes it kind of fun. That's all. The question about the influential coach, I love that question. That is my favorite question. It was in every workshop we used to do. And when we revised it, we took that question out. But I think that is probably the best question that you can ask a bunch of coaches, because it gives them the best aha moment. Like, am I that coach? And I even say, after they share about the most influential coach in their life, I say, how many kids that you're coaching right now, if I ask them in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, who is the most influential coach in their life, would they say you? Wow. And sometimes I get them like, you could hear a pin drop. They're like, oh man, I don't know if they'd say me, you know?
Yeah.
The other thing too, I've had coaches answer that question with a negative coach, because I say, who's the most impactful? And I've had some coaches that have shared and said, man, my baseball coach in high school, he was tough. He screamed, he yelled, you know, and I knew I never wanted to coach like that. So I think it's a good open-ended question to open up to negative experiences too, and how we can learn from those.
Okay.
Let me see the PCA slide. I thought you did a great job. You know, you hit that they were annual numbers. The 80,000 coaches, that's annually how many coaches we train each year. I think you said something about like, yeah, you said something about thinking it was like the trainers.
I think I said overall.
Yeah. So that's 80,000 coaches a year that we touch with this.
Okay. And you know what? How about the 3.3 million youth that we've reached?
That's each year.
Wow. Okay.
Because it's exponential. Because you're taught, and some people think that those numbers are like totally inflated. But if you think about it, if you have a room of 30 coaches, each one of those coaches coaches 30 kids. That's 900 kids just in your room alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with, over 2,500 live workshops going on every year, think about that exponentially, how many kids that you're impacting by just one workshop.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Let me see what else. Oh, just a suggestion. And again, you did a good job with getting us talking. I always am real specific about, you did it later on. You've got 30 seconds to talk to somebody. Tell people how much time they have. It really helps in a big group, because they need to know, like, am I going to be talking for 5 minutes? Am I going to be talking for 1 minute? Just tell them you've got 30 seconds or you've got a minute, or, something like that. It's just helpful to tell them how much time. Okay. I thought that you did a really nice job at referencing back. So when I shared an answer, you had, you later on, you said, oh yeah, remember when Kelly said that? Or, oh yeah, I remember when you said this about your coach. That is a great way to connect to the coaches. And there's a trainer named Joe Scally. He lives in Chicago. Okay. He is an amazing memorizer of names. I've watched him in a workshop, and he sometimes has 30 coaches. And I swear by the end of the workshop, he knows every one of their names. He asks when people I'm not saying I don't do this, but I was really impressed. He asks the people to state their name when they give an answer. And then later on, do you remember when Joseph said this, or Devin said this, or Tyler said this, or Kelly said this? Like, wow. It really makes the room feel like, oh my gosh, he knows us. So I think that's really, you did it a little bit, but I was just thinking that. I think that was awesome. It's good. It makes me feel like she really appreciates what I said.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I thought that was great. I think quoting Jim Thompson, talking about the book early on and how valuable it is. And even that you said, I wrote all over it. I hope yours is written on like this too. I think that's great, because the book is something that they purchased. They put money into purchasing a book, and it's good to know that this is something that we're going to use. So I thought that was great. I loved how you mentioned the upward spiral a couple times. That's a new term for people, but that's a sticky term that they're going to remember. One of the reasons that I always put it in too is because everyone says, oh man, sports is not like what it used to be when I was a kid. It's just taken a downward spiral. And so it's good to give them a term like, wait a minute, if things can downwardly spiral, they can upwardly spiral too. So I thought that was good that you mentioned that. Coaching is a catalyst. I can tell that you read that article, which is really great too, because you know what the Sports Illustrated article was about. So I thought that was great. Ken Revisa, just to add in, and this should be on the slide. It's not, but I changed it on my slides. He was actually the sports psychologist that was asked to come in and consult with the Chicago Cubs during the World Series. So I think that's always just a good little fact to put in there. This, Yeah, this slide was done before the World Series, but he was from Cal State Fullerton. But I think it's also cool to put, like I have on mine, Ken Revisa, Chicago Cubs, because people are like, oh, I know the Chicago Cubs. They won the World Series. So I think that's always cool to put in there too. I really liked when you were talking about how we're coaching millennials. I think that's a really good point to transition to, you know, we're not coaching the same kind of kids that we were when we were kids. So I really like the way you put that in there. I thought that was great. And again, having them write it down in the book, anytime you can have them participating using different ways. Some people don't like to shout out loud. Some people don't like to share with a partner, but they'd feel very comfortable writing something down in a book. So I think it was great that you touched on all those different methods of engagement, you know, in the first 20 minutes. I thought that was really good. I would like to hear another personal story from you somewhere. I know that you coached. I know that it meant a lot to you, but somewhere in that first 20 minutes, stories are really powerful to connect. And I know probably throughout the workshop, you're going to add one in another place. But like if you're talking about the most influential coach in your life, sometimes it's great to just put in a quick little story about a coach that you had that was impactful on your life. And it just helps the coaches connect to you again. Like, okay, I know she knows what it feels like to have a win at all costs crazy coach, or man, I wish I would have had a coach like Devin had when she was in high school or college or whatever. So I would just try to throw in, not a long story, just something. I was sitting here thinking, I'd love to know more about you and your experience and what you went through.
Really? Okay. As
a player.
Okay. I was trying to shade away from myself.
You know, I think there's a balance. There's a balance between, you know, making it all about you and bringing it in to connect to the story. We've had trainers that are, you know, former professional players. I had a guy that was a former professional hockey player, and he did his demo for me, and not once did he mention anything about playing hockey, like in his own experience. And I'm like, you played professionally? We want to hear a little bit about that. You know,
yeah, I would want you too.
That's what we want to hear. Yeah. So, you know, there's a fine line between just telling a little bit about your experience so that we can feel where we're coming from. And again, you know, talking about the millennial generation, people communicate through stories. That's why all the ads these days are storytelling.
Okay.
So just something quick and short is really good. Yeah, I mean, I'm really thrilled. I'm really excited. That was super strong, Devin. And I'm excited to see you do one of the principles to see what you're going to do there. I mean, you did an excellent job. I don't have anything that I was like, oh gosh, you shouldn't have said that at all. And usually I do.
I have to go through the last, when you asked the first question, what was I most comfortable with? I wasn't as comfortable with the last couple of slides when we talk about, I felt like I was kind of going on and on. The last 3 slides, let me go back.
Like after the Herm
right after Herm Edwards, the PCA's model of coaching.
Yep.
So I found myself, and I didn't know how to. When I practiced this, I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much information. What do I take out? So I just found myself reading.
Okay. I think the simplest way to describe that model is that, you know, every single coach in the room wants to be a double goal coach. Every single person would say, I want to be a positive coach. And all of us would, you know, I even ask, how many of you in the room want to strive to win every single day when you're out there? And I say, if your hand is not up right now, because some people are like, oh no, winning's not as important as teaching life lessons. And I'm like, come on, you wouldn't be here. And I say, I hope every hand in the room is up, because if you don't want to win, you shouldn't be a coach, because that is the #1 goal. But teaching the life lessons that are going to build character in these players is what's going to last them for a lifetime. So I kind of start it that way. But then I say, now let's think about this. We all say that, yeah, teaching life lessons is the more important. But when do those things bang heads? When sometimes do we, even the most positive of coaches, sometimes choose winning over teaching a life lesson? Give me an example. And that's when you get coaches to really think like, yeah, I'm a positive coach. Of course I teach a life lesson. And then you have people share stories like, what if there's 1 minute left in the game and your star player just tripped an opponent or just yelled at the official? Do you leave him in or do you take him out? You know, that's where the rubber hits the road. Sometimes winning and life lessons go great when you're winning.
Yeah. It's
when you're not winning that people choose When there's high pressure situation or your team's not performing well is when you've got that, oh, now winning's really more important. But actually, if you focus on the life lessons part, usually the winning will follow along with it. So I kind of just talk about the conflict between winning and life lessons in reality. When does that happen?
Okay.
And that makes that diagram a little more.
Yeah, now I have some things that, it hits.
So when you go through the next parts, and you can choose for the next one, you can choose whatever principle you want to do. But one of the things that I really want you to think about is each principle that we have, there's really one takeaway from each one. So I know you've gone through, the questions in the course, but if I said to you, what do you want the coaches to know when they walk out of the room about filling emotional tanks? What's the one takeaway you want them to have if they don't remember anything else you said? I'm putting you on the spot. Why is it important?
That they can give constructive criticism, but they need to pad it too with something positive as well.
Okay, so you want them to know that we want them to give critique to their team.
Critique, yes.
But there's a way to do it the right way.
There's a way to do it the right way. Yes.
Exactly. So if that's your goal and that's your theme, there's a lot of stuff in filling emotional tanks. Maya Angelou and the gas tank of the car and what athletes with an empty tank look like and a full tank look like and what drains and what fills. There's a lot of information in that section. But the one thing that we want them to take away is the way that they phrase something. If they can be more positive than negative, the athletes are going to do what?
They're going to perform well.
Yeah. Because bottom line is all the coaches in your room, even the best intentioned coaches, they want their kids to play harder. They want their kids to play better because they want to win. So if you can bring each of these principles back to, it's going to improve performance. It's going to improve performance. It's going to improve performance. A lot of times you don't have to be married to the slides. It's good to know them. They're going to be there as a visual aid for structure, but don't feel like you have to, I call it click and vomit. Don't feel like you have to click and spit every single detail on the slide. I think that's really important. Yeah.
It's Daryl. So that's so funny because that was the only thing I wrote down that I said. I wrote down the phrase, don't feel compelled to clear every slide. And I think the way in which we just provided perspective and a framework for, what's that one key thing when you're in a section that
Are you still there, Daryl?
People to take away. Devin, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, no, I was just saying, Kelly, that I think how you just phrased it, trying to reinforce and emphasize what that one key thing is when you're in the midst of a particular section, I think that's great because I think we can all get caught up in trying to bring perspective to every slide that we may show in the span of a presentation, but I love the way you just said it, Kelly. It's sort of like when you're in sort of a section or a module, what's that one key thing that you want people to take away? So, Devin, I thought you did a great job also. But Kelly, it's interesting. That was the only thing I was holding on to say.
And I think, I thank you, Daryl. I think that sometimes we use the slides too much as a crutch.
Okay.
And they're really supposed to be a visual aid in the background. Some of our best trainers never turn around and look at the slides ever. It's just like they're magically going along with what you're saying and doing and getting the coaches engaged and talking and all of a sudden, like magically these words are appearing on the slides. I mean, besides the videos, obviously, but the slides are meant to keep things structured so that they can keep it, so that the workshops are all the same. But what the coaches are really going to get out of it, Devin, is what you bring to the workshop and how you can get them engaged and you can get them moving and talking. And I've seen some fantastic trainers that you don't even know slides are up. They're just wow. They're just moving from one thing to the next. And you're like, this is great. And you do have permission to not use every single slide.
Okay.
And there's also times in my workshops where I turn off the slides. I push the little projector button over so that it blacks it out, because sometimes I think the slides are distracting. So if I'm trying to do an activity and I have the slides up behind me, I just black out the screen for a minute, finish my activity, and then I'll open it up again to go to the next part.
Wow. Meanwhile, I'm like, nothing better happened to this PowerPoint presentation right now. Like, I feel like I need it.
Well, yeah, I mean, and
I need
it. Of course, it helps you to like a memory prompt. but
Mm-hmm.
I'm just letting you have permission that you don't have to, you know, read every single slide.
Okay.
Okay. And sometimes that's scary to people, and other times that's freeing to people. So
yeah, a little bit of both. A little bit of both.
you'll get better. I think it takes at least 10 workshops to get yourself comfortable enough to own the material yourself. It's a perfect blend between PCA's material, Devin Jefferson's experience, and the experience of the coaches. And if you can get all three of those in perfect harmony in a workshop, you've done a great job.
We're good. Okay.
Yep.
Good. Well, I'm excited. I'm excited to kind of keep moving forward.
We're excited too. I think New York's excited for you. If not to quote Daryl, but I'm sure he is. We got a lot of
you're fast enough. Yes, I am very excited, and I appreciate you going on the journey with us with this.
Oh, thank you. So the next step is.
So I give you 2 more opportunities if you'd like them. So basically, the final for this is when Ruben is on, and you know Daryl or Emily in the office is on again. And that's the final is really what we're building up to. What years ago, I used to have people just do 1 final after the course. And I realized there's a lot of things you can learn by the more you practice it, the better you get. So that's why I started having everybody do the introduction to the workshop, because I think that's one of the most crucial pieces. And then, so the second one is really a practice session for your final. So I give you 2 more opportunities to do it. If you want 4 more opportunities to practice, that's fine. If you want to say, no, I'm good, I'm just going to go right to the final, that's fine too. But I want to let you know the opportunities are there to do another practice session for 20 minutes, just like this, on one of the principles. And then the final session is on whatever principle you want to.
Okay. I think I'm going to do another practice session on one of the principles.
Okay, perfect. That is great. And I'm not sure where you live in relation to where Daryl is. Daryl, is a live final a possibility or not really?
Sorry, trying to get off mute again. Yeah, live final is possible.
Okay. Every chapter is different. So we have some places that it's really easy to bring associate trainers in to do do their last final, you know, demo live, and other places it's not possible. So I just wasn't sure in relation to where.
Okay. Do you want the next one, the next mock, to be live, or?
The next one will probably be on Hangout again.
On Hangout? Okay.
Yeah. Because I think Ruben's going to want to join us for the next one too. And he's all the way out in California. So.
Oh, this is early for him.
Oh, he's good. I've had him up at 5 a.m. before.
Oh, you did?
I'm East Coast, and this is my job. So sometimes when people want to do it at 8 a.m., I'm like, sorry, you're up at 5.
Okay. So I'll